Imagine if I looked you in the eyes right now and said, in a calm and firm voice, everything that happens to you, you attract. Your first reaction might be resistance, denial, or even anger. After all, how could you possibly be responsible for attracting pain, toxic relationships, betrayals, emotional abuse, and the endless cycles that haunt your life? It feels unfair, even cruel. But wait a second. I'm not saying you consciously chose to suffer. I'm saying there's a place within you, invisible, deep, long forgotten, that keeps repeating patterns. That place is called the unconscious. On the surface, you want to be loved, respected, seen. But deep down, you may believe you don't deserve any of that. Maybe a part of you, since childhood, learned that love hurts, that being seen is dangerous, that being vulnerable means being wounded. And what the unconscious learns, it repeats. Like a hidden software running in the background, it pulls in experiences that confirm your oldest and most painful beliefs, even if those beliefs are slowly killing you. This is not about guilt. It's about responsibility. And responsibility is power. As Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Life doesn't punish you. It simply reveals with surgical precision what still lives inside you. Every painful relationship, every repeated cycle, every misunderstood suffering is giving you a chance to look inward and ask, why does this still attract me? Yes, attract, because unconsciously we are always seeking inner coherence. If you learned that love equals abandonment, you will unconsciously seek partners who abandon you. If you learned that affection comes with control, you will feel strangely safe with someone who manipulates you, not because you enjoy it, but because it feels familiar. As Freud once said, we are made of flesh, but we must live as if we were made of steel. What does that mean? It means the human psyche is a delicate web between what we feel and what we deny, between what we desire and what we fear, and above all, between who we are consciously and who we are without knowing. There's a powerful scene in the classic Alice in Wonderland that reveals a painful truth about existence. Alice asks the cat, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to," said the cat. "I don't much care where," said Alice. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," said the cat. And there it is. If you don't know what you want, anything will do. In practice, this means if you're not clear on your values, your limits, what you deserve and what you seek, you will settle for anything, even what slowly destroys you. A life without direction is like a boat adrift. You're not navigating, you're being carried. And once again, the unconscious takes over. Because to know what you truly want, you must have the courage to face your deepest needs, your most intimate desires, your most hidden pain. And that's terrifying. It's hard, but it's the only path to freedom. What holds you back isn't visible chains. It's the silent voices inside your mind whispering, "You're not good enough. No one will truly love you. Relationships are dangerous. It's better to settle for less than risk losing everything." Those voices were shaped by experiences, trauma, and cursed words you heard when you still believed the world was safe. They became internal rules. And now, even as an adult, you follow them as if they were universal laws. Freedom requires light. Light on the shadow. light on the pain, light on what's been buried. You need to investigate your stories, question your patterns, observe your choices, and ask with brutal honesty, what part of me still seeks what hurts me? This is not self-blame, it is self-understanding. Psychoanalysis teaches us every unprocessed trauma returns, not as memory, but as repetition. You may not consciously remember every pain you've lived, but your psyche does. And it will recreate similar scenarios, familiar people, recurring situations, all to try and resolve what was left unfinished. But if you're unaware of what's being repeated, you simply repeat and suffer. You react the same way, feel the same emotions, get triggered by the same things. It's like being stuck in an emotional loop you can't escape. And here's a hard truth. You can only change what you have the courage to face. Denying what you feel, minimizing your pain, blaming others, feeding your victimhood, these are all ways of postponing your healing. But looking at yourself, that's an act of power. An act of reclaiming the part of you that needs to be rescued. Not punished, not shamed, rescued. Everything around you is revealing what lives inside you. People, circumstances, encounters, conflicts, all of it is reflection. The outer world is an extension of your psyche. You want peace? Cultivate peace within. You want love? Love yourself with courage. You want respect? Learn to say no with strength. Healing doesn't begin by changing others. It begins when you change yourself deeply, until what you used to tolerate becomes unbearable, until what once seemed normal now feels absurd. That's the mark of transformation, when the old no longer fits and the new begins to emerge from within. Not knowing what you want is like living in the dark. Any external voice can guide you, even the ones that manipulate you. But when you are clear, when you know yourself, when you heal your wounds, you begin to act with intention. Focus is not rigidity, it is consciousness. It is knowing where you are and where you want to go. It is saying yes with presence and no with conviction. It is no longer accepting emotional crumbs. It is refusing to live at the mercy of toxic love. It is breaking the unconscious chain that binds you to cycles of pain. And the most beautiful part? You can start today, now, in this very moment. You just need to stop distracting yourself and start listening to yourself. The past exists, but it doesn't define your future. You may have lived through abandonment, abuse, rejection, but that doesn't mean you must live forever in their shadow. What shaped you does not have to define you. You are greater than your trauma. You are vaster than your pain. Above all, you are an infinite possibility of rebuilding. But nothing changes until you decide to change. Nothing heals until you want to heal. Nothing transforms until you say, enough. So stop for a moment. Breathe. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what am I attracting into my life and what in me is allowing it? That question, if asked honestly, might be the key to your freedom. Most of the time, destructive relationships don't begin with yelling. They begin with subtleties, small discomforts you swallow, disrespectful attitudes you justify, silences you normalize, looks that wound more than words, but you ignore them because it's not that serious. Except it is. Your soul knows. Your body feels. Your unconscious records it. But you go on because you've learned that love requires suffering, because you confuse stability with imprisonment, because the wounded child inside you believes that if you're sweet enough, someone will finally choose to stay. And so you twist yourself, you tolerate, you adapt, you disappear. Until one day you wake up and realize you're in a relationship that's making you sick, emotionally, psychologically, physically. And you ask yourself, how did I get here? The answer? You ignored the signs. You denied your intuition. You followed what was familiar, not what was healthy. The human brain associates safety with what's known, not with what's good. That's why people raised in emotionally neglectful homes often seek relationships with emotional absence. Not because they like it, but because it's what they know. It's like trying to find love using a map for war. You long for peace, but your nervous system only recognizes chaos. You say you want stability, but feel bored when someone is kind. You crave mutual love, but run when it shows up and cling to those who don't choose you. This is the paradox of the unconscious. It wants to repeat what hurt in hopes of healing what was never resolved. But you won't fix your past by loving someone who ignores you. You won't heal your inner child by becoming a self-sabotaging adult. You won't recover in the same place that taught you to break. Healing begins when you step out of autopilot and start choosing consciously. Without self-knowledge, you are a hostage of your patterns, your trauma, your inner saboteurs. You might even achieve things in life, relationships, a career, money, but there will always be a feeling that something is missing. Because something is. The unconscious mind controls 95% of your decisions. That means that if you don't understand your internal mechanisms, you're being guided by an invisible force. You make choices, but don't know why. You repeat patterns, but don't understand the reason. You suffer, but can't see where it comes from. That's why self-knowledge is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's a matter of emotional survival. It's the only way to escape the cycle of pain and enter the cycle of conscious creation. The pain you don't understand, you repeat. The wound you don't heal, you spread. And the unconscious you don't illuminate becomes your fate. Have you noticed that when you're unsure of what you deserve, you accept anything? Mediocre relationships, opportunistic friendships, toxic jobs. You live for others, craving approval, emotionally mutilating yourself to fit into places you were never meant to be. But the truth is this: the world treats you how you treat yourself. If you abandon yourself, you'll be abandoned. If you disrespect yourself, you'll be disrespected. If you silence yourself, you'll be silenced. Defining what you want is an act of revolution. It's declaring, I know myself, I respect myself, I don't accept less than I deserve. And the most beautiful part is, When you stand with clarity, all that is dysfunctional drifts away. Not by magic, but by vibrational incompatibility. We return to the wisdom from Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know what you want, any path will do, and any path can lead you to an emotional black hole. When you don't know what you want, you live out others' expectations. You mold yourself to their desires. You try to be accepted by everyone, and in doing so, you lose yourself. But when you gain clarity, you start to live with purpose. You say yes with intention and no without guilt. You know where you are and why. And most importantly, you know where you're going, even if the path is still unclear. The unconscious loves chaos, but consciousness loves direction. And when your mind aligns with your essence, the universe responds. Relationships are mirrors. They reveal with painful precision what still needs to be healed in you.
So the question is not, why did that person do that to me? But rather, why did I allow it to happen? What part of me still believed I deserved less? Yes, there are toxic, manipulative, abusive people, but this isn't about blaming victims. It's about reclaiming power. Because at some level, you must ask, why did I stay where I was disrespected? And the answer is almost always rooted in emotional dependency, fear, low self-worth, old traumas, internalized family patterns. You didn't stay because you wanted to suffer. You stayed because you still believed that was the best you could have. But now you know better. Now you can choose differently. This is one of the hardest and most liberating truths. You can be an incredible soul with a pure heart and noble intentions. But if deep down you still believe you deserve little, that's what you'll accept. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you vibrate. And you vibrate from your unconscious identity, from what you believe about yourself, from your self-worth or lack of it. Want to change your life? Change your self-image. Change your beliefs. Change your internal standard of worth. You attract what mirrors your innermost truth. And if your current truth is still pain, it's time to rewrite it. When you decide to break a pattern, be ready. Your world will shake. Old relationships will fall apart. People who benefited from your low self-esteem will walk away. Destructive habits will seem even more seductive. Your unconscious will try to pull you back into the comfort zone. Because growth hurts, healing is uncomfortable. But staying where you are can be fatal to your soul, to your mental health, to your energy life. So yes, there will be pain, but it will be purposeful pain, the pain of rebirth. And on the other side, there is something you may have never experienced before: peace, wholeness, reciprocity, truth. Not the superficial happiness sought through distractions, but a quiet, steady internal joy, the deep certainty of being whole within yourself. There are those who spend a lifetime waiting for something external to change, a new love to heal the old one, a new job to erase the frustration, a new body to bring self-worth, a new place to finally bring peace. But the truth is both harsh and liberating. Nothing changes until you do. Everything that happens to you, even the most devastating pains, is revealing parts of yourself that need to be seen, understood, and integrated. The shadow you reject is the same that attracts dark experiences. What you refuse to feel, the world makes you live. What you don't allow yourself to acknowledge, life will throw in your face. You won't find outside what you're still denying inside. And there's only one real path: to go inward, to descend, to investigate.
A journey of self-knowledge is a crossing, not linear, not instant, but absolutely transformative. And it begins when you get tired of repeating the same cycles, when you look back and realize the names have changed, but the stories are the same. When you see that something in you is still chained to a narrative that is no longer yours, maybe it never was. In this descent, you will find the wounded child who just wanted to be loved, the teenager who learned to hide, the adult who over-adapted and forgot how to live. But you will also find the strength that survived all of this, the spark of self-love that never died, the capacity to be reborn that time could never destroy. This is your reunion. This is your true home. In times of overstimulation, distraction, and constant noise, it's easy to forget that you have the power of choice, but you do. And the most important decision of your life will always be this: to keep repeating what destroys you or start building what heals you. The unconscious will try to keep you on autopilot because it loves to repeat, but consciousness will call you into the now, into the real, into the new. And that demands a decision, not a superficial one, but a decision made from the soul, from within. You need to decide to stop accepting crumbs, stop settling for what hurts, stop repeating what was once called love, but never really was. The decision to change is the first step. Consistent action is the second. Healing is the path. If this text stirred something in you, here are a few practical steps to start your journey with awareness and strength. Ask yourself powerful questions. What part of me still believes it deserves less? What kind of people do I always attract? What does that reveal about my story? What patterns am I repeating, and where do they come from? Observe your relationships without filters. Do they nourish you or drain you? Do they help you grow or make you shrink? Are you being yourself, or do you lose yourself trying to please? Write, record, translate your pain into words. Writing is a form of catharsis. Turn your thoughts into sentences. Turn your pain into a story. Turn your story into wisdom. Stop outsourcing your power. You are not a supporting character in your own life. You are the writer, the director, and the main character. Of course, there are wounds that are not your fault. Of course, there are injustices. Of course, trauma leaves scars. But there's a thin and powerful line between blame and responsibility. You are not to blame for what happened, but you are responsible for your healing. And that is the greatest act of self-love you can offer yourself. Do you want a new world, a new love, a new era? Then be new. Not superficially, not performatively, but internally, genuinely, and consciously. What's waiting for you on the other side of pain is lighter, deeper, and more truthful than anything you've ever experienced. But to reach it, you must go through yourself. And trust that there is life after pain. There is light after shadow. There is love after trauma. There is you, whole, after all of it. You can't change what you keep attracting, but you can change what you attract by becoming someone new. Now, look at your life with fresh eyes. Look at yourself with compassion and strength. And remember, you are not broken. You are awakening. You no longer have to live trapped in what someone once taught you was love. You no longer have to accept pain as part of the package of life. You no longer have to justify the abuse you've endured as if it were normal. You are not here to repeat stories. You are here to transcend them. And yes, that takes courage. Courage to look within, to descend into the basement of your own soul, to face memories that hurt, inner voices that sabotage, beliefs that no longer serve you. But that's the price of freedom, because emotional freedom doesn't come from escaping the past. It comes from transforming it into raw material for awareness. Freedom is the ability to say, I acknowledge where I come from, but I choose where I'm going. Freedom is knowing that you are no longer a prisoner of what you don't understand. You can stop attracting what destroys you. You can heal the root of the pattern. You can rewrite the script, even if it was written in blood and tears. Life doesn't want to punish you. It wants to wake you up. And if you've made it this far, maybe this is your moment. The moment to stop merely surviving and start living with intention. The moment to stop being a victim of your own shadows and become conscious light. The moment to step off autopilot and take the wheel. Don't wait for the world to change. Change yourself, and the world around you, inevitably, will follow the new reflection you become. And maybe you ask yourself, where do I start? The answer is simple, yet profound. Start with the discomfort. What hurts, triggers, irritates you. Those are portals. What deeply affects you reveals where unhealed wounds still live. Psychoanalysis shows us that healing doesn't happen through denial, but through integration. Denying your anger, sadness, or frustration doesn't make you more evolved. It makes you more disconnected from yourself. To feel is necessary. To process is essential. To understand is liberating. You weren't born to live numb. You came here to awaken, to break inherited patterns, to choose differently, to love better. Especially, and most importantly, yourself. The more you listen to yourself, the less the world feels like a battlefield, and the more it becomes a mirror. Nothing on the outside changes until something inside transforms. And this work is silent, daily, subtle, but absolutely powerful. Transformation requires surrender, humility, and courage. But the reward is immense, a life aligned with your truth. And living in coherence with yourself is the highest form of freedom a human being can achieve. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel.